And then architecture basically seemed like this perfect balance. It was technical. You had
Right.
building construction and structures and all that kind of stuff, but it was artistic, and there was obviously a design side to it. So I thought it was a perfect balance between the two, and I decided to give it a try and switch out of computer science and go into architecture. And I basically loved it. It was fantastic. It was great. I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is perfect for me. I want to be an architect. I've discovered what I want to do. And so I went, did that in my undergrad. But as I was going through that, started learning about, just how things got built, what the process was. And then you start to realize that developers have so much, they're the ones taking on the risk. They're the ones putting up money, or along with investors and so on. But, they're the entrepreneurs that are really bringing it together. And so I became really interested in development. And I was thinking, well, I know that I still, want to be an architect at this point. But I want to understand development. I want to learn that side of it. And so I ended up going to Penn for grad school, because I could do my master's in architecture, but also focus in real estate. And it was eye opening for me, to be honest with you, because I was basically bouncing back and forth between the design school and the business school. And in the design school, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about returns and things like that. It's about the theory. It's about the design intent. It's about all the ideas that you're putting into these projects. It's that. And then you walk down down to the business school, and they say all that matters is the last two pages, which is the pro forma. What is the return on this? That's
Where's the waterfall? Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's that. Forget all this other stuff about the building and the design, all that stuff. No. What matters is the pro forma. And you're like, wow, like, okay, neither side. And for me, it was like, well, neither side, I think, has it right. It's somewhere in between. The design matters, but the numbers matter too. My first year, I still didn't know what I was going to do. And I applied for summer internships. I applied to both architects and real estate companies. And I wasn't sure yet what I was going to do, but I said, I'm going to apply to both and kind of figure things out. And after my first year, I ended up getting a job offer at Bjarke Ingels Group in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And that's one of my, my favorite architects, living architects today. I think the stuff they're doing is incredible. And so I was really excited to get an offer from them, but it was basically like I couldn't even live off of the money that they would pay. And then I got real estate offers coming in, and the salaries were way higher. And I'm like, well,
Okay, so now we found the nerve. This is where the tipping point. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's part of it. I was,
Sure.
So I ended up going to work to Ireland, and this was pre 2008. And I ended up going to Ireland and working for a real estate consulting company there. And that was, I think, to be honest with you, was more or less the tipping point. I spent a summer working in real estate. I was still involved in design. We held some international design competitions for some of the sites that we were developing, and so I was still involved in design. But I really liked the real estate side of it. I don't think it was never a clean break, though. There was always this side of me. It's like, well, am I going to miss design, and am I going to be okay with this decision? But
so you got the architecture degree, and you had a good dose of real estate, but then you went to Rotman. Is that the name of the school?
Yeah.
And got your MBA.
Yep.
What was that like?
Totally didn't need to do that, but
didn't need to do that. No.
Don't get me wrong. It was a great experience, and I'm glad I did, and I would do it again. But did I need it to be a developer? I was already working in development at that point. Part of the MBA was really repositioning myself. And it's funny how quickly that works. It's, all of a sudden, before I was this, I was the fanciful architect. And then after, I do my MBA, I was like, oh, he's a finance whiz, here, oh. Yeah.
You were writing on your blog first of all, about the constant phenomenon when somebody says they are studying real estate or they're doing real estate development. I was just at a coffee shop today, and the lady said, what are you studying? And I said, real estate development. She said, oh, does that mean that you'll be able to sell the really big houses?
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm not getting a leasing license. I'm trying to become a developer. It's, selling buildings versus building buildings. And at one of your speeches, you introduced yourself. Hi, I'm Brandon Donnelly. I'm a real estate developer. I work as a real estate developer building buildings.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know the term real estate developer, but even those who do use it fairly loosely. And I'm curious as to how you personally parse the word. Is somebody who owns a portfolio of 1,000 units, but who's never built anything, a real estate developer proper?
No.
What's the sandbox for actually being able to call oneself a developer?
if you just own and you manage and you operate, you're an operator, and you can create value through, the way that you manage and the way that you operate your buildings, and that's great. As a developer, you're creating value because you see something that could exist. You see the potential of something, and then you go out and create it. So the way that I think about it is you're just imagining the way that things could be. You see a piece of land, or even you see an existing building, and you imagine something different. And so you maybe, you're adding additional density, or you're tearing it down, you're building something new, but you just see something that doesn't exist today. And that's different than I think, than if you're managing buildings. Not to say that that's not a great way to add value, but it's just different.
Are the people who survive as developers, I mean, I'm sure starting off wealthy doesn't hurt, which unfortunately I don't have that advantage, but
I don't have that either.
But that can't hurt. But do you think that it's more the conservative, fiscally conservative person who survives, or more the person who is available to bring a unique product and or fit and finish to the market, and so that's this is a new product category? Or do you think it's the networking, or is it what's the secret sauce or the recipe, you think, for the modern generalist developer?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I've had some debates about this with friends of mine, developers in the city. Because if you're hyper conservative and risk adverse, you're never going to make any deals. You're never going to do anything. It's just so many times it's just not going to work out for you, right? Because a lot of times when you're developing, you're trying to stretch the market a little bit. You're saying, well, we're kind of on the edge of a desirable neighborhood. Yeah. Rents aren't quite there yet, but I think if we deliver a great product that, we can start to stretch the rents a little bit, I think we can do it. We can lease this up, or we can make it happen. So, I think you have to be, you've got to kind of have that entrepreneurial flair to you, where you feel you can make it happen. You're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna be relentless at it.
This is doable. Yeah.
This is doable. We can make this happen. I think you have to have that side to you, but at the same time, you gotta manage, expectations, and you gotta make sure the returns are there and accountable to your investors, and manage your budgets and all that kind of stuff. So it's a healthy balance between the two, I think.
And on a day-to-day basis, which of those things do you find yourself leaning on the most, or are you now fairly specialized? Like, you're the pro forma guy, or you're the site acquisition guy, or do you find yourself as a Brandon of all trades?
I've always been, as I said, kind of a development manager role, where you're taking the project through approvals, entitlements, putting together your consultant team, running pro formas, managing that process. And then usually there's somebody who's going to be more on the construction side who will take over during construction. You're still involved though. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's one of the things that I love about development, is that there's so many aspects to it. I wouldn't want to, just sit there and do pro formas all day. And I wouldn't want to just sit there and, I don't know, read planning rationales or something like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that it's all that you can, there's so much to it, and it's diverse, and you just never know where things are. Every project is different, and there's always things that get thrown at you.
One of the things that I've talked about on previous episodes is that I came in thinking, all right, developers, this is really, this is the top dog. And I didn't know what private equity was. I'd never heard of a fund in this sense. And we're raising a $3 billion fund and so on. What was your experience like with institutional real estate in school, in institutional real estate coming out of school, and internships? I mean, how prevalent they're very prevalent where I'm studying, which neither here nor there. It's just different than what I expected. How strong was the pull of that? And how present was it where you studied?
The pull was not significant for me, but it was definitely prevalent. And I mean, I think if you do, for most MBA programs that have a focus in real estate, it's more focused on the capital markets side, mm-hmm. and less on development. And I think because there's specific development programs. Real estate is so broad. And I think that the general public, when you say real estate, like you just said, they think, oh, you're an agent. Oh, you sell,
Exactly,
you buy
yeah.
and you sell, or whatever it is. But real estate's really, really broad. For me personally, though, coming from an architecture background and having the passion and interest in design and construction, planning, urban design, all of those things, development was the natural fit for me. I think it's the way that I can create, I think, the most value given my background.
Right.
Versus if I was an accountant and did my MBA and studied real estate and then wanted to get into real estate private equity or something like that, that I think is a better fit. But if you're, for me, it was always about staying close to the asset, staying close to buildings, staying close to the site, and not, because at a certain level, it doesn't even matter that the underlying asset is real estate. You're moving money around, you're doing all of these things, and that's just not where I want.
It's a bit securitized in some sense, yeah.
Exactly. And it was also about staying as close as I could to the asset.